Hi everybody and welcome to the Tea and Trails podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. Long runs, hill sessions, maybe nursing an injury, or are you neck deep in the taper trenches? Whatever you're doing, we are grateful you are here and hope you enjoy the show. Thanks to all our partners and patrons too. A couple more added to the ever-growing list. Patrons can now enjoy 15% off at Precision Fuel and Hydration and 15% off at Tiki Boo too. But that's not all. No. We've got Mountain Fuel, Outdoor Active, Veloforte, Silver Active, Root, the Centurion Running Store, Protein Rebel, Sportshoes.com, Big Bobble Hats, X Miles, and Fawnside Farm Cottages too. They all share some super cool discount codes with our patrons. Maybe even treat yourself over at Summit Crazy if you would like some awesome Tea and Trails merch.
Somebody asked if I bought my Tea and Trails merch on Facebook, and the answer is yes. It comes out of my salary.
We know freebies.
Our accountant is an absolute stickler for his his spreadsheet. Welcome to episode 37. Oh my goodness, everybody! I don't have time for this week, Gary. This is the one joy of my week. Is chatting to you, and the best thing is that the kids are all here. But they're not allowed anywhere near me when I'm recording. So I think we could do this all day. Might just keep you on, and okay, you just keep it on and just shout something occasionally. Anyway, this
Get Yellowstone on.
Yes. This week we have a chat with Jess Gray, female winner of the Grand Tour of Skidday. Heard great things about this race, so looking forward to hearing all about it, especially as my dear mate Nikki Griffin took over the race directorship this year. I know it meant the world for her, and that it sounds like it was a screaming success. And we wish our little mate Gary good luck for Dragon's Back. Oh, we're gonna hit all about that later on in the show.
Shout out to our show sponsor, The Festival looks ace, and I noticed that entries to the Grasmere Gallop are open. I think I'm going to do this one, Eddie. I know I should get lost in the mountains doing an style navigation event, but the Gallop, I think that'll be a great Lakeland 100 race, decent elevation, 6,000 feet, good race day prep, and it'll be a canny day on the trails, and I'll run straight into the beer tent and enjoy the rest of the festival. Also, Re-Om is trying to ensure no OM products ever enter a landfill. Don't forget, patrons get 15% off over at www.theom.com. And we are super stoked to announce Precision Fuel and Hydration as a podcast sponsor. To be able to get a personalised fuel and hydration plan is awesome. Now, I jumped on a video call with the sports scientist, Emily, earlier in the week, and I'm quite a simple person, Eddie, and when somebody says sports scientist...
No way! Really?
Maybe that intimidates me, but... No, she was very human, very lovely, and made it all simple for me to unpack. And I will be changing my fueling strategy and hydration strategy for Dragon's Back race. Yeah, it was a free chat, completely free. That wasn't just because of the relationship with the podcast. Anyone could do that. No hard sell. But what they do, obviously, afterwards, when they are talking to your nutrition and hydration plan, they're mentioning precision hydration products because that is what they do. You know, and I puked my way around the lakes in July. So fingers crossed, this new approach will serve me better. Patrons get 15% off. And what is awesome, if you've never tried precision fuel and hydration, all of our listeners can get 15% off their first order if they use Tea and Trails 15, all caps. I'll say that again, Tea and Trails 15. And you can find all the links for our sponsors at teaandtrails.com or in the show notes. Okay, I think your week's been more interesting than mine. Mine is just Dragon's Back taper and prep. Come on, you go first then.
It's not been interesting. It's not been interesting. Hellfire though. There's nothing like a busy mother to get that to-do list ticked off every day. Gosh, it was a bit of a juggle. I know life's a real juggle as well, as when I get up, I take my running stuff downstairs, let the dogs out, and then as I'm having a cup of tea, I put my running stuff on, leave my jammies downstairs so I don't wake everybody up, and then come back home and I just hang my running stuff over a chair. This is gross, isn't it? To put on then again later in the night, and the jammies and then I have a shower downstairs and then just put the jammies back on at the end of the day. And that is just life, and it's just so grubby. About 3
It's like you're a
days.
superhero, like Batman would do
it's
that, wouldn't he?
literally, but it's pajama mum to running mum back to, and then my littlest girl was doing a swim lessons every morning, and it was really hot last week, very different from this week. I would just put my bikini on then and a pair of shorts because it was like 35 degrees. So yeah, I went from pajama mum to running mum to bikini mum back to running mum back to pajama mum. Oh my gosh, just rotated. It felt a bit Groundhog Day anyway. I get a bit worried about moaning about the juggle, I guess, about the mental load of the kids. And I'm always aware that it sounds moany, but it's just real life, isn't it? And it's not, I'm not complaining. Well, I am.
I don't think it comes across as moany, Eddie. It's just what we do.
It's just what I do. And it's such a big part of my life that if I didn't talk about it, podcast would be silent. Just be me flicking the kettle on. That's how it worked. And I did feel deep exhaustion over the weekend. I felt like the ball's in the air, the darts were all spinning and it's just a lot. Yeah, I managed to fit in what I said last week, didn't I? I wanted about 20,000 feet and I was going to get that. And maybe I'm my worst enemy as well, because I don't know why I wanted it. I just felt like 20,000 feet looked really cool on Strava.
It's the new 10,000 feet. 20,000.
It's my new 10,000. I get 10,000 stepping out the door. It's all about the 20,000. And I don't actually even though I had a super busy week, the training wasn't that hard, especially as I didn't have a mega long run. I just didn't have time to get out for 4 or 5 hours. And so there was a lot of like 40 minutes. I didn't really feel like I did very much running at all. But obviously, if I didn't do the running, I would have more time and maybe a bit more energy. But oh my gosh, the running is where in these busy times, I know but people are probably listening to this are running, escaping from reality, but it's my joy, it's my comfort, it's a place where I go to reset, to think, oh my God, I need to do that. Oh, I've forgotten. And also I spend quite a lot of time as well thinking about my work, because I'm like, so-and-so, how am I going to get them? What can I do for that? It's the only time, like, and I know this will resonate with a lot of people where I've got the headspace to actually think about my clients and like, and I spend it.
I spend that 4 hours thinking of nothing.
Okay, well, this is you just. I do think that's a man woman thing.
So much coming in. I don't know, but so much is coming in 24/7.
Okay.
And those few hours out on the trails, maybe the trails where I'm a bit more separate from my local running.
Yeah.
Nothing comes in for those few hours.
Well, I'm different. There's literally it feels like there's somebody typing inside my head going, da, 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 da. So this,
Okay.
and now this one, and now this one. I put it all to bed. I love it. I like that. It's obviously the way our brain works, isn't it? So yeah, by Sunday, I had a 2-hour slot to do my long run. I was absolutely peeing it down with red, and it was really cold and miserable. And so I gave myself permission. I was like, the minute that trail goes above 2%, you can start walking. So I literally jogged up the road, let the dogs off their leashes, and pretty much walked the whole thing. Anyway, it's about much enthusiasm as the kids doing their homework before they go back to school. Anyway, I have nothing to complain about, really. I got a busy, full, happy family life, but sometimes, we have to accept that life is a bit of a grind and to find the energy to do everything. It's the day-to-day grind can sometimes feel like, what is this? What are we trying to achieve? Where are we like, is this pointless? Of like, I get up, I go, take jammies off, Superwoman comes running on. And it's just like a cycle of like, okay, so what are we trying to achieve? And then I listened to a podcast of women that's saying, that the actual running and all the grind of doing it and getting it out, it's actually nothing about the running. It's all about the turning up, problem solving, flexibility, accepting the challenges, accepting the changes. And like at the moment, I have to be super flexible with my training and work and everything, and just remaining focused on what that goal is, while everything else is like being shoved at you like rockets, grenades.
Yeah.
Enough, Cumberland.
It's funny though, you just layer on more things. But then you just become more and more busy and you just hustle and grind.
Hustle. But then just remaining that focus and that sort of zen, like people describe the swan, don't they? Of like gliding across the water, but underneath the swan's going. I feel this is all a good metaphor for ultra running and, juggling and keeping calm and problem solving. And even though I wrote a massive load of text just then whining, I do love it. I do love being deep in it. I'm a busy, but I thrive on a full full schedule and a diary and juggling.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine, I think like 5 years time, my house will be empty. They'll all have flown the,
Oh,
my
don't say that.
chicks.
I don't want to think about that.
It makes me want to cry. They won't want me anymore. They won't need me to take them to swimming and
I've already
football.
had these. Your kids are younger than mine. I've always had this conversation with Esme like this time next year. She'd be hopefully going to university and can't even stop. Move on.
Anyway, let's move on. Anyway, training wise, due to the time schedules, 2 quality set treadmill sessions. I copied yours, Gaza. I did your
Coach
classic.
Gary.
Coach Gary, thanks, Coach. 5544332211. I did a longer, obviously, because I wanted to make sure that I ran further than you. I did a longer warm up, and then at the end, I did a 20-minute really slow, but carried on running uphill, which is quite good actually.
I do a longer warm up. I'll run to the gym for 2 miles, and then I'll do half a dozen strides.
Not the same.
And then I'll do the session.
Yeah, whatever. I did have to, I put the speed up so much by the end that I had to hold on to the front of the treadmill because I couldn't get my legs to move fast enough.
Oh, yes.
Seriously, that was hard. That was really hard. And then my other one, I sort of recreated that in a different way. And I did 10, 8, 6, 4, 2 minutes, but I did them a bit slower at sort of 8-minute mile gap pace. So it felt quite comfortable. I wanted to go faster, but then I just made this up on the spot because I was like, I'm not allowed off the treadmill till Bryn's back from his hill reps. And then he was ages. And he said, oh, sorry, I got stuck by the cows coming down the hill. So I thought after the 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, probably he was going to appear in about 10 minutes. And I'd had another 40 minutes on the treadmill. Anyway, so then rinsed. I was rinsed. Then I did 10 by 1 minute and then 5 by 30 seconds flat out, which I loved. As I'm doing those, so I'm like, I am dicing with, I'm tired. I'm really sweaty. This is like, Eddie, I'm so easy to ping a hamstring or a calf because once I warm up, I can't stop. I would carry on, Gary, until somebody went, it's time to get off the treadmill.
Pull the plug. When you do those 30 seconds, sorry, are you jumping off to the side? So
the 1 minutes and the 5s, I just kept the speed up and I gave myself, with the 1 minute, I had 20 seconds. And with the 30 seconds, I had 20 seconds, so kept the heart rate up. Yeah. And I literally would get off, quick wipe of the towel, and then get back on. But I did them really fast because I was trying to get a bit of leg speed because I've got really good, basically, at hiking uphill. So I love that. Anyway, I did jump off the treadmill before Bryn came back because it was, an hour and 40. So I was like, right, I'll do the cool down jogging up the road. And of course, as I hit the road, he appeared with the dogs. But anyway, it was great. And it might have explained why I was a little bit tired because then, they're hard. They're much harder than anything I do outside. Yeah. They are full on, aren't they? Anyway, so good. When I look back on it, whenever I reflect, when we do the podcast, when we do our diary entry on this podcast, we say, it was quite a good week. Lots of bitty, lots of fitting stuff in, but it was all good. We hiked the kids in terrible weather. We had a really hot heat wave and then the rain was coming in over the weekend, but we sort of looked at the weather forecast and we were like, if we get out early, we can miss the rain. Then we can go back and watch a movie and everyone can snuggle down. Yeah. Anyway, the rain came in an hour earlier than it had said on the forecast. As we were climbing up, we could see it coming. So I was like, coats on, kids. Here it comes. Anyway, we all had shorts. Poor little Evie had a skort on. We all have good hiking trousers. Anyway, I didn't put them on. You know who did have his hiking trousers on, though? Full hiking trousers, full quilted jacket over his waterproof. I was like, you're right. You're okay there, aren't you? Super snug. He's like, I'm no fool. It's like, why you saw us all coming out in his shorts? And he was like, just. So he was, as we were coming down, poor Eves and me, and he was happy as Larry. Anyway, we'd made a picnic, but we ended up having it at home. on the rug.
I love stuff like that. It was too
cold. I know, it was fun. It was too cold. I didn't even get my flask of tea out. I lie. I did. As we were coming down, I opened up my flask and drank on the move. Even Evie had a little sip. And then we all had a lovely evening. We topped it off with a lovely raclette. Have you ever had a raclette, Gary?
I have never had. Come on, share with me.
Do you know what it is? So you get, so it's a big circle of cheese, as big as that. as big as my head. They chop it in half, and they stick it on this sort of like spiky thing, and then they put a heater next to it, and it melts the cheese. And then they give you salad and meat and new potatoes, and then you have a knife, and then you just scrape the cheese off onto your potatoes, and you just keep going until basically you're in a cheese coma and you can't eat any more. But I tell you what, you don't feel good after that, Gary.
I don't think I've got a limit with cheese.
No, that's the problem, isn't it? That is the problem. You can just keep going. Anyway, so all sorts of highs and lows of a mixed week, but it all got done and we all ticked it off. How are you?
Yeah, deep in the tip. But I think reflecting back, I think the week was good. I started off the week with general aerobic and then some strides at the end. I really, enjoy that. This general aerobic, you're moving with purpose, but you're not rinsed. I don't know, sometimes like an easy run is too slow and a hard run is obviously way too hard, but this general aerobic, this marathon pace.
You'd love it. We were just talking before we jumped on the mics about the Albon app, and you'd love it because he advises a lot of that sort of paced work. But you need to be quite experienced to get that sort of pace quite right.
I am experienced, Edwina.
Oh, hello. Both experienced and my full name. I love it. Because people can mistake that general aerobic for hard, but it's by no means hard, is it?
No.
Yeah.
But it is tricky because, again, I've not had a formal test. I base all my paces off my 2019 marathon PB. So that's where, and I am not that runner currently.
Head in the hands, dear listener.
I know.
Head in the hands.
But
why don't you do it off heart rate?
Because I have not had a test. I've not had a VO2
You don't need
max.
a test. You can do a test yourself.
Yes.
We can talk about this after Dragon's Back. When you head for your marathon training, we can talk about how to test that. Yeah, okay.
But as always, like we talked about your juggle, a lot of my runs at the moment seem to be, maybe I'll take Rex out for a few miles, then I'll go and see my dad and do some jobs, picking up newspapers, etc. And then I'll physically do my run afterwards. So my 10-mile run, there's probably only 5 mile of actual work on that. And then we headed off to the lakes. I think it was Wednesday. I've never done Cribgoch. Stride and Edge is not Cribgoch. People don't say, Gary, you're a massive idiot. They are completely different. So, but as from where I live, without kind of driving to Wales, this is probably the most exposure I can get. But it's not for the faint-hearted. I was going over there. There was a family of 4 plus dog, and the dad did not want to go over Stride and Edge, so he let his 3 kids and the dog go off without him. And I was thinking, oh wow, because there's some points there where I thought, if I tripped, you're not going home that night, unfortunately. And I would not want to go over Stride and Edge with my 2 children. I would be pretty scared. Fuel for the day was Active Root, Bella Forte. I enjoyed that, and some Protein Rebel chocolate protein shake, and then a nice pie from the Reggae Centre. But the plan was basically to do 2 loops, and one, the first time, was to go over the ridge, right, as much as possible, walk that ridge. Some of it is a scramble, you can't physically do that, and I thought that will give me maximum exposure.
4 points of contact, practice time.
Yeah. Taking loads of pictures, taking pictures for other people. I would volunteer if I saw some people trying to take.
Were you like, do you want a picture of me? Oh my God! Okay, great.
But when I was lining up these shots of people, you're walking backwards, you're thinking, oh bloody hell, don't step back too far because you are literally going to go off the edge. So yeah, it was a deliberate tactic to fully stay on that ridge as long as possible and just fully expose myself. And then there is quite a steep scramble up to Helvellyn. Eddie, fully exposed. I didn't even do that on purpose this week.
It was because you were talking about taking pictures of people. And then the whole image in my mind. We are not those people, Gary. We are not those people.
No. But it was good. I wasn't fine with it. I'd be lying if I said I could have skipped along that ridge and ran it. No, I'm not that person. But I was at ease being there, and it was just a good test. And I deliberately took my time. And then the second loop, I did it twice. I thought, well, I don't want that to be a fluke, so I did it twice. But I was running out of time, so I had to take the lower path. Anyone who hasn't done Stride and Edge, you don't have to go across the edge for most of it. There is a little path to the left or right. If you're heading towards Helvellyn, it's to your right. So you can cut out quite a lot of the scramble. But it was a real feel-good run because I did it twice. I bumped into quite a lot of people 2 times over, plus the family whose dad didn't want to do Strides
reunited?
They're reunited on Swirl's Edge, and he didn't want to do that either. So he wasn't having any of it. But yeah, people were seeing me. So I got a Lakeland Legend shout. I had my Lakeland 100 t-shirt on. Someone just called me a legend. And I was like, oh. That was a bit weird. And then he said it again. Oh, yeah, Lakeland Edge. Like, okay, got it. Just people saying, yeah, good job. Well done. Oh, I saw you running. The rage was brilliant. You're really inspiring. Awesome job. So, yeah, I come away from there.
I don't get any of this. I'm out doing these ridges every day.
I was totally pumped. Yeah, totally pumped. But then on the way back to the car, my goodness me, I ran past this family. Just as I got to them, a fly went in my mouth. And as I was trying to bring it up, I just started to uncontrollably vomit. Didn't bring anything up, luckily. And this poor family must have thought, what the hell is this guy? I was trying to talk, I was trying to explain, I've got a fly in my mouth. But they were like...
He's exposed himself and now he's vomiting everywhere.
They couldn't wait to get away from me as quick as possible. But yeah, I was sick because I was running back to the car because I forgot how much time I'd put on the car park ticket. I think the ticket ran out at 5:31 and I got there at 5:29. So I know I was pretty stressed. But it was awesome. Yeah, like I say, I've never done Crib Goch. I've never even done Striding Edge. So I thought it could have been a real bad experience because if I hated it, then I would have went into Dragon's Back race with mega anxiety. But I was comfortable doing that kind of terrain. Then I had my precision hydration call with Emily. Now that was really awesome. Now I said earlier about puking up quite a lot during the Lakeland 100, I think up to about 50, 60 miles. And then I just gave in trying to eat savoury. So that's why I wasn't sick again after that. But basically what Emily said would be worth trying, especially on day one, because obviously I've got 6 days to correct this, or 5 days, if it doesn't go right the first day, but split my carbs up. So with Lakeland 100, everything I consumed, drinking and eating, had carbohydrate in it. So maybe just get your hydration and electrolytes through your drinks, and then eat your carbs. It might just give you a bit of a break. And then also preload your electrolytes before you set off. With that, I think they've got like the pH 1500, they've got the 500 and the 1000 different drinks. So preload with that. And then even when I finish to promote recovery, get an electrolyte drink as soon as possible, really. So that was interesting. The splitting up the carbs and the hydration. I've heard that a few times before. So yeah, it'd be really interesting how that serves me on day one. I think basically from what the feedback I got, possibly my electrolytes were out of balance.
Sounds like it.
Then I did some general aerobic and Strides International Dog Day last week. I saw lots of great pictures from dogs out there.
I don't have time for that sort of thing.
Well, I was just sitting there with Rex having a cuddle, and I just thought, I think we both need this cuddle as much as each other today, Rex.
Stop it, Rex.
It was really
There's
nice
nothing that gets me more, and because you don't put Rexy on the gram or on Strava Moors when Rexy appears. Little picture of Rexy always perks my day up.
I love any dog pictures. I love seeing your dogs. I love seeing anybody's dogs. I did do a full kit test for Dragon's Back race. So I had my backpack on. I had my little waist belt on. 2 litres of water already. That's what I'm going to start with.
Yeah.
Oof, that is heavy. That is a heavy. I'm not used to. Normally I'd have 500 or a litre tops. The kit side of it, every race is different. You know, you don't need to carry a first aid kit. So there's things that give and take for all different events. But yeah, it was fine apart from just being super heavy. The strap on my vest annoyingly rubs on my chest. So I've got like a scab here now. 5 days time in Dragon's Back race, that is going to be mega painful. So I think I'll have to KT tape that or put something over there. But yeah, apart from the physical weight of the vest, everything seems fine. Some body weight sessions, some mobility, about 50 miles for the week. So yeah, not too bad. I feel fine. But my heart rate, everyone must be so bored of me and my heart rate variability.
I am. So yes, this is going on for a long time. And now we're talking heart rate.
When I went into the red again, I don't know what the hell, man. There's a lot more recovery from 100 miler than just your achy bones and joints.
Yes, Gary. The first interesting thing you've said for a while.
Oh, Eddie, that was.
I know. It was hypnotic, wasn't it? That wasn't Eddie. That was moaning. That was Nancy. She gets a bit arty. Yes, but you're so right. I reckon it takes about 6 weeks for all those hormones and everything to readdress?
Like I feel okay. There's definitely I'm not 100%, but no aches in my body. I can do sessions, but yeah, there's definitely something behind the scenes not completely right. So yeah, I can't wait to fully smash myself a week in Wales. This week's Brew the Coach's question comes from Patreon Pete Faulkner. This week's question for Brew the Coaches comes from Pete Faulkner. We all talk about our physical recovery, but for me, the psychological element is as big or maybe even a bigger aspect of ultra running to deal with. I've just finished what was more than a 2-year-long journey to complete a sub 24 hour Graham round and find it's left a huge void. There's the usual lack of running, motivation, etc., that we all know passes with a little time, but it also feels like a part of me isn't there anymore. The part that used to look at the clock and see a position on the Bob Graham route rather than the time of day, 2 minutes past 2, Scarfield Pike, 22 minutes past 4, U, Barrow, etc., etc. The part that had every single thought and action relating back in some way to my Bob Graham. What's your take on this side of things, and how do you ensure you look after yourselves mentally as well as physically following a huge running project, whether it's dealing with the closure of a completed goal or the disappointment of a failed one? Oh my goodness, that's a massive question, but a fantastic question. Thanks, Pete. Who's going first?
No big decisions, Pete. No big decisions now when you're in this. You've probably moved on a little bit. Firstly, well done. Amazing. You've done your Bob Graham round, and also the build-up sounds just brilliant as well. When you've invested so much, and I think it's quite good for people to realize that this is going to happen, that when you invest in something, you put your heart and soul into it, you leave a little bit of your soul on that route, on the round. And you have to grieve that little bit that it's gone, but it's still up there. So I think that's a really nice, I'm a thinking person. I learn by seeing and by doing stuff. And I think you try and reflect with joy, with compassion, with gratitude that you got to do it, rather than with sadness that's left you, because it's not left you. You've just left a little part of your soul on that Bob Graham round. It's not gone anywhere. There will be other challenges and other things that you can focus on. But this downtime is really important. You can't, and for your family and work and the rest of your life, you cannot live in that state of cortisol hypeness month after month, year after year. You have to let the down come down. And I think just accepting that, allow yourself to feel a real sense of, instead of feeling sadness it's over, but just try and change that into a real sense of accomplishment of what you did. You did something amazing. You did something that lots and lots of people can't understand. Tell everybody about it. Do a Gary and tell everyone about it. Just into daily conversation all the time. Just know that you it's perfectly normal. It's actually hormonal as well as just the psychological time. And just let yourself be. Don't make any big decisions, but maybe just like we always say about everything with injury, focus the mind onto something else. It's fine. You don't have to be unfocused. You can be focused on something else, be whatever that might be. It might just be, I'm just going to really, oh God, heaven forbid, focus on my job for a little bit. Don't do that. That's silly. But focus on something completely different that maybe
unless you're a surgeon. Please concentrate.
Please concentrate if you're putting me under general anesthetic. Do some reading. Read about other people's big challenges. The world doesn't close down, though you've closed it down to complete this challenge. Open it back up again. Maybe do some traveling, maybe do some walking. There's heaps of other things, but don't not enjoy this period because you've done what you set out to do. So when you feel those down moments as well, just try and reflect on what you did. I feel exactly the same when I did the spine. There's then a big, my little kit box that had been so every day I'd been so invested in all that, and it's sort of it sits there sad, but it'll come back. And I think it's really important to just allow yourself to feel all the feels, no big decisions, and just look up at that Bob Graham certificate proudly and be proud of yourself. And start just thinking. Don't make any big decisions, but allow all the thoughts of what might be next to kind of trickle in. Start doing a little bit of research of what might be out there for the next double Bob Graham. Why not go all in, Pete? Russell, how do you feel after you've helped a lot of people do rounds as well, after when you've sort of gone all in? The month or so afterwards can be a bit low, can't it?
Yeah, and so I think that really helps, just understanding and believing that this is so human and everyone goes through this. You've invested your soul into this, and like Eddie says, you leave a bit of your soul on the mountain, and that's okay. The thing that I do, and the thing that Eddie touched on, and that I'd certainly recommend to my athletes, is to get it down somewhere, so it could be talking about it to everyone, sure, but I've got a blog, and that really helps me with closure. Get my athletes to write a race report or just journal it for yourself. It really helps get all these thoughts that are just flying around in your head on, like a cohesive story that you can look back on and be proud of. Even if it's a failure, I think it really helps to, get your authentic self down somewhere. It might be you come onto this podcast, or you sit down and do like some kind of interview with a friend. If you don't like writing, you put it on Instagram. However it is for you, it could be just like personal journal, but some kind of element of closure and reporting and journaling of what you've done. It really helps. And then it is there to look back on when the sands of time, they, you do forget things, and you'll wish that you'd done it years down the line, because you do forget. I always look back on my own blog and read my own blog, and it's mainly for me. Like, proud of my achievements, and sometimes even
1,000 hits, just like again and again, hit.
Yeah, I know. I'm the only one reading my blog. I'm keeping it like the top 10 all by myself. But yeah, even the failures now I read back on, when the pain subsides, and I feel proud that at least I got that adventure and I went out and I tried my best and whatever it is. So I would definitely recommend doing that. But the main thing, like Eddie said as well, is after a while of sitting in this space and understanding it's totally fine and we all go through it, starting to think about what's next. That's a massive thing for me as well. There is always something else. You just need to give yourself the time and the perspective to wait for it to come in, and something else will grab you, and then you're on your way again. And then, it's just part of the great adventure.
Trish, what are you going to do after Dragon's back when...
I'll definitely be leaving a big chunk of my soul all over those days the whole way down.
Oh, God. I hope it's just your soul over Cliff Rock.
Nothing physical.
Straight on rock and left in bog. There'll be bits of Trish everywhere, I imagine, all along the course. I mean, I completely relate to that, because my Dragon's Back journey is about 2 years long. And for me, I really think the journey is just an awesome part of it. Like, I'm already a little bit sad that Dragon's Back is going to be actually happening in a couple of weeks, because I've just had the best time with friends, and all the training days have just been amazing, and I've really enjoyed it. And I think that for me, that's the joy of running, what it's all about. Don't get me wrong, I'm super competitive, and I'm going to take out all the competition, but the journey itself is just amazing. And I really, I totally get what you're saying in terms of Bob Graham time as opposed to like normal daytime. It does take a massive draw on you. And, I don't know what's going on in other parts of your life, if you have a family or, what else is going on. But for me, if I'm giving all to running, I'm definitely not giving all to my family, and I'm definitely not giving all to the other things in my life. So I think that break is super important mentally, to just have a break from running, and, to change your bed sheets, that kind of like normal day-to-day stuff. Which is super important.
Weed the garden. That's always my friends like, could you just pull the nettles up? And I'm like, no, you do not understand. There's no knee bending apart from, but I can run 1,000 meters uphill. That's fine. I could do that, but I can't pull nettles up from the garden.
I've got to cut the grass later. That's
there we go.
Job.
It's a training slot. You have your slots of energy, and I think you can actually think of it a bit like that as well. That like, you given your slot for that bit, and then you take the energy needs to go into other bits, and it's not forever. Like, it doesn't mean that person that did that Bob Graham and all that planning, just because you're not in that phase, it doesn't make you like a lesser person. It doesn't mean your like life is slipping you by. It's just your slot of times are just being used a little bit differently. But keep the passion alive and just start watching. I always like look at other people doing massive adventures, and I'm like, oh, what, and let it sort of like come and go in your head of like, what might be the next, what scares you, what do you think you
possible?
Can't do,
what could be possible?
I flip the memories though. I don't say now I'm looking back, this time 2 weeks ago I was stressing out in a field in Coniston, but it's not a void. I still feel like I'm involved with it. Later this evening I'll be puking up in Braithwaite. It's great.
I think it's something to do with your brain as well. Like it sits when you've just done it as well. Like after the spine, it sat in the front of my brain for about 4 weeks. Like everything would come back to it. I'd have like flashbacks and a bit of PTSD and a bit of like, I think it's sort of like it's part of the recovery process, isn't it? Like, and I'd want to talk about it all the time, and I'd be reliving, and I'd just be doing something. Someone would say something, and I was like, I remember, it was really funny when we did it. And then slowly that sort of moves away, doesn't it?
I think you've got to as well think about why we do these things. And ultimately, these things that we do are hard things. And mentally, why are we doing them? Why are we getting sucked back into doing these tough things again and again? And I think for me personally, and I think for the vast majority of us, is we realise we're not really meant to be comfortable. Like we're meant to do hard things, and we get something quite primal from doing these hard things. So I do think whatever it is you decide to do next, you might decide you want to have a nice quiet life. But ultimately, I think once you've done it, it triggers something. It triggers quite a primal response. And actually, we realise that we get a lot more back from this suffering than we actually realise. And that's really important.
And from being focused, isn't it? Yeah, we get so much back from the daily grind.
Yeah.
Like the routine, the everyday answering the head that goes, I can't do it. And us going, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it again today. And then when you step off that and you allow the brain to have control and not do stuff, it's really tricky, but it's all part of the process. Yeah, and just because you're
feeling is normal.
Totally normal. Yeah. We've all been there. We send you
get out, find something else. Let us know what you're doing.
Pete, let us know next
But it
challenge.
does pass. 100% it does pass.
Like, not going to be passing for long for you, Go, because you're going Dragons back in a few weeks.
But for me, sometimes like the morning process, I like say Lakeland 100, I'm totally on a high after that. Bob Graham round, I was totally on a high after that. But then I reflect back on some road marathons I did. Yeah, there was definitely a big gap after I think a lot of it, like the marathon, like from marathon down, the payback, the like dopamine buzz is as short-lived as the distance of the race, isn't it? So like 5Ks, you feel really good afterwards at the end, and then you're like, well, what's next within like half an hour with it? And then the longer the race goes, the come down is much bigger, but then it sort of lives with you forever, doesn't it? That when you do something really, really hard, that sort of like
afterglow. You get like an afterglow.
The afterglow is the real deal. So Pete, enjoy your afterglow, let it glow, and let us know if you let us know if this helps. And let us know what the next challenge is.
Thanks, Pete. I mentioned earlier about what's going on under the hood. That is maybe is evident, but yeah, that's psychological recovery. Lakeland 100, first time I did it, it ruined me. It took me a long time to mentally want to go to that place
and
again.
I think, it sits in the front of your brain. We've talked about this before, I know, for a long time afterwards, and it won't sit there forever, especially if you've had a really tough race. Sometimes you can feel a little bit traumatized about what you go through, but allow it to flow, allow it to process. And always your feelings are very different post ultra, the day, the next day, the week, the month after. And I think knowing that allowing, okay, I'm going to feel quite different, just letting it be at peace. This week we chat with Jess Gray. Jess Gray, Smoking Fast ultra runner. She has been on the scene almost as long as me. Our paths have crossed a couple of times, but it's really great to see that she was back with a vengeance. She's had a few injuries over the last few years. She juggles life, being a mum. All sounds very familiar, but she had an awesome win at the Grand Tour of Skidday over the weekend. So we look forward to hearing all about that and her life and journey as an ultra runner. We are delighted to welcome Jess Gray to the podcast. I think, Jess, the last time we saw each other, were we in a world of pain at the Lakeland 50 many, many years ago?
2017.
routine. And I think some rude words were passed as we passed each other.
I think no, you went running past me going, just eat something.
Oh, did I?
As I was just walking like, death marching going, oh, why does she look so strong?
Don't think so. I don't think either of us had our best days, did we? But no, I think I'd managed to sort of pull something back, and you were like, me and my kind of anyway. That's a long time ago, eh?
That's a long time ago.
Us old ladies, we're still gonna unscratch it. I'm still trying. You were fresh from your first day. I was so pleased. So I always look at the results to see like who can we get on to come on the podcast. And I'm so pleased to see, because I haven't seen you do anything for a little while, but we'll perhaps go into a bit more details on that. So I was so pleased to see, wow, you smashed it. First place at the Grand Tour of Skidday, 44, maybe 47 mile ultra marathon. You weren't only first place, you were fourth overall, beating the next girl by about 25 minutes. So you were convincingly a convincing winner. Well done. We'll talk a little bit about the race in a bit, but how are you feeling? How's the recovery? How's the body? So we're recording this on Wednesday and the race was Saturday, wasn't it?
Yeah. So, okay. On the Sunday, my daughter decided she wanted to go and run out on the fells. And I was like, yeah, fine, I'll join you. And we went to the Coolbeck checkpoint and I quickly realised that wasn't happening. So I went for a little 4-mile hike while she ran forwards and backwards up High Pike. And then I ran today, this morning, for the first time, just an easy 5-miler. So, yeah, all still intact. Everything's still attached. So I'm all good.
How does recovery look? How old is your daughter now?
She's just turned 16.
No. 16. And she's super sporty too.
So she's definitely faster than I am. Not quite got the endurance yet, but it won't be long till I'm just
my kids are like, they can't, because I cannot, if we go for a run, they go out at their like super fast and I'm like Mum needs to build into this run a little bit. I've not got that speed. And they're like, you're not really that great at running, Mum, because when we run with you, is she like a cross-country runner, shorter distance?
So she's track runner, 1,500, 3,000, but it's actually just found that she's quite strong at 10K. And she's doing a sub 40 10K already. And I'm she's only about 20 seconds off my PB. And I'm a bit like, oh, okay.
Oh, it's so how does recovery look after a race then? A bit different because we had Rachel Norman on last week and she's got a 16th month old. So you remember what recovery looks like now with a 16-year-old. Does she look after you? She's like, Mum, I'll make tea,
She's not too bad. But normally like she just wants to go out running. And because we were in the lakes and she doesn't know it, I was a bit scared. I did set her a Strava route and I was a bit like, I will worry so much about you. I'll come with you.
That's good on you.
Yeah, but other than that, no. So recovery, eating a lot, fluids, We had a bath in the Airbnb that we had up there, a big roll-top bath. Oh, that was I sat in there for a long time.
Time to get out now. It's been 2 days.
Are you all right up there?
I love a bath. I love a bath after a big, long run. And I always put the Epsom salts in there too.
A
treat.
The only problem is the getting out. Like, it's so good to get in, and then it takes like 2 hours for me. I'm like, I can't bother to get out.
I always try and do some admin though. I was on my phone, maybe doing Instagram or something, but then I'm scared I'm going to drop the phone in the bath. So I'm leaning out the bath and it's not really a relaxing bath anymore. We always ask our guests, where are you? What's the view from your window? And you've already said, actually, have you been for a run today?
So I live in Ivanhoe in Buckinghamshire, and the view from my kitchen window is actually of Ivanhoe Beacon, which is the end or start point of the Ridgeway National Trail. So I'm quite lucky.
That is awesome. And what would be your, local trails?
Yeah, not bad. So I live a lot of farmland around me, so I can literally go straight out and onto the trails and up to what's called Ashridge Estate, and which is just acres and acres of trails and woodland. I can get to Wendover Woods on foot from here. So I'm really lucky, but it's not quite the lakes.
You weren't tempted to do the Ridgeway then this weekend?
Yes, no, I've done it once. I've done it once, finished it once, attempted it once, and no, I'm not going back. I'll go and see them in the morning, and I'll go and see them off and see James and stuff. But yeah, not again.
No, and I think especially if it's your local trail as well, it's quite hard to get yourself up for. So like you're like, I run that every day. I don't feel I need to pay to run.
I know
that.
all the way home. I know really easily, so it's hard to go to the end.
You say it's not the lake sub, but yeah, did you have DOMs after Skiddaw?
I did have some DOMs after Skiddaw, only because my training has been appalling for the last 6 weeks due to injury. So yeah, we're coming down the stairs on the Sunday morning. I was like, whoo,
I think whatever you'd have DOMs from that, because that was a lot of climbing. And to what I've seen, like the downhill's quite runnable. So it's not like you're sort of taking your time as well. You're like, go.
Yeah, the downhill off of Skiddaw was a lot of fun. So it's a bit sort of slatey, but it just kind of skied down it. It was just brilliant. And then coming on, is it Longside or the edge you come off of? That was really fun as well. So yeah, lots of really runnable bits.
Lots of muscle tearing.
Yeah.
I always wonder about that. If you're doing a Bob Graham round in reverse, to come hurtling down Skiddaw at the end of pretty much 24 hours of running, I think. I'm not too sure if that would be good or bad. I'm not
or
too sure.
endless.
Yeah.
You said at the beginning, Jess, to us before we started recording, never done a podcast before. So welcome. So people won't know your story. You can make up anything. But can you tell us a little bit about your story as a runner?
So at school, I really enjoyed cross country. That was my strength. I could sort of beat everyone and I loved it. But then when I got to sort of 16, I started playing rugby. I played rugby union.
No, I never knew that.
Yes, I played rugby union to a high level. When I was 18, I made the decision, rather than go to England trials, I went on holiday with my brother because it was free. And it's probably one of the biggest regrets of my life. Anyway.
Yes. No, never regret. Never regret. You might not be where you are today if you.
Well, no, exactly. So, and then I started really running after the birth of my daughter in 2007. And then my dad had done a marathon when he did the London Marathon when he was 40. So it was always like, okay, I'm going to have a go at London. So that was always my running goal, was to do London Marathon, and that was it. And then I applied in the ballot and I got into London in 2011 was my first London, and it all went wrong. I snapped my fibula over Tower Bridge and I finished. I didn't know it was a snapped fibula at the time. I hobbled to the finish in a like the time that I wasn't happy with. So I had to have another go.
Did it hurt before or did you just?
So I just thought it was muscular. I took a few paracetamol on the start line and I thought, this is going to be fine. Got to 7 miles in. I was like, this is brilliant. Turned over Tower Bridge and I felt like someone had stabbed me in the leg.
Oh my goodness.
I looked down to see, there's no blood, what's happened? And I literally couldn't run. I hobbled the last 13 miles, crossed the finish line, waited a week, then went and saw some of my colleagues because it's really embarrassing that I'm actually a physio, and had an x-ray and my fibula had snapped.
Wow.
So
your pain threshold must be...
Yeah. So I was a bit like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense why it hurts so much. I can now go back and have another go to get a better time. So yeah, that was it. That was the goal, to do a marathon. And then I joined a running club to take it a bit more seriously. And one day, one of the runners turned to me and said, do you really fancy doing London to Brighton? And I'm like, no, I don't ride bikes. No, it's not for me. And he said, no, running London to Brighton. And I'm like, but that's 100K. That's ridiculous. Nobody does that. And I ended up running it with them and I absolutely loved it. We were out there, it was like 62 miles for 13 hours plus, and I was like the really horrible friend that I was running off and running back to them. They were having a terrible time. I was eating everything. I was like, oh, this is the best thing I've ever done. And we finished and I was like, wow, I really, really want to do more of that. From there, somebody said, why don't you try one of the Centurion races, which was the North Downs Way 50 in 2015. And no one knew me. I just ran it thinking, let's see how this goes. And I ended up coming second. I was 36 seconds outside the women's course record at the time. And I was like, yeah, maybe this is for me.
Yeah.
So then it went from there.
And then how have you, and you then did a smoking fast autumn 100.
Yeah. So that was 2016. Yeah.
But it's safe to say you've had a few little knockbacks as well along the way. Is that sort of been later on, or is that been sort of interspersed? You've had a really good period of running and then you've got a little bit injured.
Yeah, so I think 2016, after the Autumn 100, I had Wendover Woods 50 in the diary. And, you're on a high. When you do 100 miles, I don't know if you've ever felt it, but you just feel invincible. Like a week after, I feel I felt incredible.
When it's going
I think
well.
there is some science behind it. There is some science.
Yeah, it's like the oxytocin and the dopamine.
Yeah. So I went and did a recce run with Sam Amend round Wendover Woods because she was doing it as well. And I was obviously hanging off the back, chasing her around. And then when we got to the end of it, we were about, 12 miles. I was like, my hip is really sore. And then it was probably, I couldn't run for 6 months. I ended up with tendonitis in my hip. And I was just like, that's it. I'm never going to run again. What am I going to do? I had steroid injections. I had all sorts. And I had some shockwave therapy and it seemed to just kind of get it right. And then from there, I could start running again. But the problem is I've always found, because I am a physio, but I do run with my heart, it's very hard to be an athlete and a physio at the same time. And I'm not very good at listening to people who say, just chill out a bit, don't run. Because, if I'm not running, I'm not happy. So
do you treat a lot of runners in your...
I used to, not anymore. I work more in an orthopedic hospital, so there's lots of hips and knee replacements.
Okay, because I was going to say, do you, when your runners come in and you say, well, you shouldn't run, do you say that, or do you go, well, look, I know you're going to run, so...
It's not worth me saying, no, I don't really treat that clientele anymore, so that's okay. But I've always found it difficult to not go out, because I don't know if my pain threshold's high, but I'll go and run and I'll be like, oh, it's okay, it's only 2 out of 10, but I'm hobbling and look like I've got a limb hanging off. And it's only 2 out of 10. So
yeah,
I have learned, and as I've got older, I've just realised that I still want to be running when I'm 70. So I just take the time out now, just cross-train, swim, cycle, sit on a bike in the gym. Can't call it cycling.
Yeah. And are you quite good at doing your strength and conditioning and all those physio exercises that you give to people?
Yeah.
I love hearing this from a physio.
I had a 3-year gym membership where I was tied in for 3 years because it was a cheap membership, and I think I went 5 times, and for that I sat in a sauna for 5 times. And then I've got a gym at home. We've got a lovely outhouse, and I said, no, Phil, you can't have it for DIY. I want it for a gym. And yeah, it looks lovely, but I very rarely go out there. I find it's just time, and I'd again just get out on the trails and really.
It's very hard if you've got the slot, isn't it? You want to run. Don't you?
Yeah.
I do get that.
I don't get the same feeling from in the gym as I do out on the trails. So,
but just because we're saying all this, listeners, you gotta do your
strength training,
or you just have to take the fact that you've got to be more careful. You've got to deload, and you've got to run or cross train less, or you've got to pick your races more carefully.
Yeah, big 20 increase in strength training for myself over 2023. How's your 2023 been, Jess?
Well, it didn't start very well because I was planning on doing London. So I got a good time in London in October 22, and I was chasing a sub 3 for 23 back in April. But I just really went sour on the training. Training for an ultra is so different to training for something like the London when you're looking at your watch and the splits and the times. Yeah. And I just hated it, and then just didn't do the training, and then got closer and closer. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to achieve my goal, and I just will be really miserable. I can't just run around London and enjoy the day because I'll want to be competitive. So that was 23, the beginning of 23, and then because of GCSEs and stuff, it's just been too stressful. So my A race for this year is actually Lakes in a Day, and
we've got so many people. Lakes in a Day. I need to be there.
So Rachel obviously doing it.
Yeah.
So that was my A race, and then. Obviously, Tour of Skidday came up because Nikki messaged me about being the new race director, and I was like, actually, it sits really well in terms of training, so I'll have a go and use it as a long day out.
And did you defer your London place?
No, I just didn't turn up. I just threw my toys out of the pram and went, I'm never running a marathon again.
Oh dear.
And are you coached? I'm curious, you are like a self-coach actually, or part of a running club, so you kind of lean on a group there, and also locally, what kind of elevation can you get? Because Skiddaw and Lakes in the Day, you need to be getting some vert in for those races.
So I'm not coached. I have had a couple of coaches in the past, way back early in my career, but I'm just not very disciplined. So it was hard to follow the sessions. I'm a bit more like, I can really just, with kids and stuff, it's hard to fit everything in. And I just kind of like, I've got this time today, I'll go and do this. I feel like doing that. I'm just going to do it.
Yeah. I kind of like that way as well.
It's flexible and in terms of elevation, no. I think our biggest hill is 284 meters. So It's not very hilly at all. I do a few loops of Wendover to get a little bit more vert in, but yeah, nothing. So I've been going up to the lakes to just try and get a bit more in my legs, but yeah, it's not easy. I don't have one of those treadmills, like Elsie has one of those treadmills where I keep looking at it thinking,
I think if you're not that enamoured about going into your shed, that the treadmill could end up in there too. And
bit of a waste of money.
That is a lot of money sitting in that shed. Gary'd be knocking on the door. You're not. Can I go into your shed for a bit?
I get people DMing me treadmills that are for sale.
I do love my treadmill. Because, like, for instance, a day like today when I'm super busy, it doesn't matter what time I got a treadmill session to do, and I can jump on it tonight when the kids are here and they can just be when they're like getting ready for bed and stuff, and I can get an hour of vert that I can get like really good session in for an hour, and I'm home. So if they want me, they can. Yeah. But my treadmill's got the back to the door, and so they also are not allowed to come in because they scare the bejesus out of me if they suddenly appear by my side. So also it's a great way because they don't come in for an hour because they're too scared because I've shouted at them so much.
They definitely have a place, especially if you don't live somewhere with hills. I can, again, it just saves me a 3-hour round trip to the lakes just so I can get thousands of feet of vert. Yeah, if anyone's out there thinking, I like the sound of this Grand Tour of Skidday. Is it easy nav? Yeah, explain the route. Is it hard to follow? You're going to get lost on the fells? I
did do a recce day, so that did help. I went up and did the nav 4, learn how to use a compass and recce, which was...
It's not marked then, is it?
No, it used to be, but part of Nikki's taking it on is that she didn't want to have it waymarked. There were 2 places that they were through, like a farm where they've altered the course because they've put up some little holiday huts. But other than that, you have to kind of be able to nav it. It was okay in terms of the navigation. Pretty flat for the first 8 miles to Coolbeck, and then from Coolbeck you go up High Pike, down the other side, and then up Skiddaw, and then along the edge, and then back round, so it's like a big lollipop, and then back to Coolbeck for checkpoint 4, and then 8 miles back to Limehouse, which was really hard work. Flat, greasy, slippery because they'd had a lot of rain. Yeah. Cow fields, just really give me a hill. I just need to walk if I need an excuse.
Yeah.
I was going to ask on that terrain what your trainer choice was, because it sounds like a lot of running, and so you want something a bit cushioned but also with grip.
Yeah, so I always just wear Scott's RCs.
But Scott's on wet rock, they're terrifying.
But that's the only trainer I've found that I've actually, any confidence in, and they just fit my feet. So I wear them for everything. I wear them around here on the little sort of light.
The Scott's, the cushioning is lovely on a Scott, though, isn't it? You can wear
the RCs, though. If I remember right, the RCs, they're not really a cushion shoe.
No, not a cushion shoe. Not the ultra. The ultras are, but I don't like. They're quite heavy, but I like the RCs.
Do you? Okay, so running a long way on them on a bit of hard pack stuff might be a bit. You want to Gary be switching to his Vaporfly.
Well, I love the look of the Scott RCs, the black and lime, and I nearly won for Lake 100 last year, but I switched them out for some of the Kinabalus because I just thought it would have been too tough over that amount of time on the trails. Was there a bell on the top of Skiddaw? I remember seeing some pictures.
There was, ring the bell on the top of Skiddaw and take a selfie. But I'm like, I haven't got time to take a selfie.
I love the sound of that. Mind you, though, if you hear the bell behind you, then I think I'd be running scared.
Keep looking back over my shoulder.
Yeah.
Cool. That's terrifying. Tell us how the race went. What was your sort of plans going into the race? Were you thinking just a training race, or were you like going for this?
Well, no, I unfortunately I'd ended up getting some tendinitis, peroneal tendinitis in my ankle. I know, but in June I just kept tripping over the same routes in our local woods. I've got a little bit of arthritis in my left foot, and I run really supinated, so really on the outside of my foot. So if I catch anything, I just twist my ankle, and I did it about 6-7 times in one run, but not enough that it was like really sore. And then I just started to get this left, and I just then couldn't run. Well, I could run, but I couldn't do any speed, and I couldn't really do any long stuff without suffering the next day. So I've been running like every other day for the whole of July, just couldn't get sort of string any training together. And I think like my stats were like 15 miles 1 week, 4 miles the next. And then, so I hadn't done anything big since, I think my last 50-mile week was second week of June. So I knew this was just going to be a training run. And so the pressure was off, just have a great day out, enjoy, and just not have to ring someone to come and pick me up. That was the plan. And so I went off really easy and met Ian Hammett, who I've known from Centurion for a long time. And we were just yapping away, finding out all about him and what he's been up to. And it wasn't until we got through the first checkpoint and I got with this group of guys and I was like, oh, okay, let's get the thing. I just can't help myself. And then I asked at the second checkpoint, Electric, Stuart Smith from Nav 4 was there. And I was like, what position am I for ladies? And he went, oh, you're in first. And that was it. And then I was like, oh, no, I didn't want to be in this position.
Yeah.
And then I can't help but just want to try and hang on to it. And, the whole way around, you're thinking, it doesn't matter if someone overtakes me. It doesn't matter. I'm here for a training run. If I come second, it's great. If I come third, it's fine. If I just finish, oh, no, there's someone coming. I'm too competitive. And then, yeah.
How was your ankle during the race?
It was absolutely fine. I taped it up and, that fell off in the first 5 miles because it got wet in the grass and it was fine. I didn't even come to my mind. And even afterwards and the next day, it seems like I'd run through it. Maybe pain everywhere else.
And you shared loads of miles with Ian.
Yeah, we sort of, the first race I've ever done where I've run with someone from pretty much the start to the finish, bar a few like where he stayed at the aid station longer and then we were just about 10 steps apart. We just stayed in line and he could have left me at the end. Last 5 miles I was a bit like, oh, my hip flexes, it was so flat. And he's like, no, come on. And he was really, really supportive. And he could have gone, but he stayed for me. So we came in joint fourth. So bless him.
Awesome.
He can chat. He can chat. So if you're going to run with anyone and you're happy for them to chat away. And he gave me the best bit of advice when I was I ran some of the autumn 100 with him, my first 100, and we got to like 40 miles and I was like, no, I can't do it. And he's like, you can always run another 10K, Eddie. You can always run another 10K. And he's so positive about it.
He was breaking it down. He's like, okay, it's only 5 miles to go. Let's break it down into 1.5 miles warm up, 1.5 miles cool down, and then just a 2 mile run. And I'm like, yeah, I can do that. And then he's like, just a park run to go.
Yeah, he's got the good positive mental breakdown. Whereas I'd be like, 5 miles, I can't run.
Well, I loved it when Trish flipped it and she said, just kind of visualize your local running trails. And my little run with Rex in the morning, it's like, I can do that every day. That's a piece of cake. Did you have any intel? I'm always curious. It was a 20-minute lead, so quite generous, but were you running scared or anybody said, oh, Elaine's closing on you?
No, I mean, I know Elaine's an amazing runner and I did expect her to just come past me at any point. But no, I had no intel after that sort of checkpoint at Latrig when I found out I was in first. I was just like, even my family who I saw, they didn't say anything. I think they were
like, oh no, oh, okay, this is the way the day's going.
Yeah.
And you hadn't done a long run for a while. Any sort of like highs or lows, or did Ian not let any of the pity party come in? How was fueling? If you've not fueled, sometimes on a long run it can.
Yeah, it was fine. I mean, I've got the sort of little system. I carry lots of gels. I use Veloforte, and whenever I get to an aid station, I just take on the bananas, mainly fruit and bananas and things like that. I just get it in and then I was okay. I kind of nailed that. I spent a lot of time, I don't know if you know Alex Cook, sports dietitian, Alex Cook. Yeah. She's a local runner and I spent a lot of time on the trails with her and she's drummed it into me. Keep eating, Jess. So she has been really good.
Yeah, that's always good. That's always good to pull away. And then what does it look like? So Lakes in a Day, that's in October?
Yep.
So the body's feeling okay. What are you going to do between now and then
Going to just try and get out to Wendover Woods, try and get quite a lot of vert in the legs is the main aim.
Tell us about Lakes in a Day if people don't know what the course is.
So the race is approximately 50 miles and it goes from Coolbeck down to Cartmel. And I don't know what inspired me to sign up for a race in the lakes in October.
So it's going to be dark.
It's going to be dark.
We'll be at the end, yeah.
Yeah.
4,000 meters.
Yeah.
Oh, it's spicy. Yeah.
It's spicy, this.
So I brekkied, is it Threckeld to Ambleside? We did that about 3 weeks ago, and in weather I have never run in. It was hideous. The rain was just non-stop. The wind was phenomenal. We didn't see anyone for 5 hours. We were just in
I love that.
clouds.
That's the best.
We didn't see anything. Just a little path in front of us, the line on our watch. There was nothing to see for 5 hours.
I think this sounds like excellent prep for Lake District in October.
So I'm curious, when you go up to say Threlkeld, would you do then Clough Head? Then would you do the Dodds and then Helvellyn?
You don't do the Dodds, but you do Helvellyn and then...
And you do you don't go down Dollywhack. Well, you do, but a different way, and then a real interesting way of Fairfield, if memory's correct.
And there's a very big step. They called it a big step.
Called the big step.
It's like 10-foot drop. And I was like, I'm not quite sure I'm going to get down this vine on my own.
Yeah.
Luckily, we were with a group of people, and I had to come down it and sit on a chap's shoulders to get down it. It was just because it had been so wet. It was slick rock, and I was like, "Oh, this is a bit hairy." So I don't know what's going to happen on the day. I might have to sit and wait for someone.
But that running down the side too, we did it a few weeks ago. A friend and I did a Lakes in the Day recce, and I found it slower going down that side into Rydal. Then we came back, we went up in reverse to Fairfields, did the Fairfield Horseshoe Loop. Yeah. And I think it was quicker going up the other side than going down the real technical side that you do in Lakes of the Day, because loads of it I was on my bum, sliding
on your bottom down the rocks. Yeah, it's quite fun. You don't do that in the Chilterns.
You could do it in Wendover Woods, sort of.
But then you summoned Fairfield, and we thought, we're going to go down now. But then we started to climb again. We went down a little bit, then you climb again. We're like, what the hell is going on? Awesome. Any learnings, though, from Grand Tour of Skidday? Is anything you think, I'll do that different for Lakes in the Day?
No, I think I'm not going to go off quick. I mean, obviously it's the British Trail Championships, and it'd just be really fun to stand on the start line with amazing women and just watch them all go. And then I don't want to get caught up in someone else's race. Like when I caught the chaps at Hyde Park, I was like, okay, let's do this. And I don't want to be doing that. I just want to have a good day out, a safe day out, and make it back in one piece. That's the aim. And going off Horsfell scares me a bit.
I think it's going to be weather dependent, this race as well, isn't it? Because you could have a freak clear day.
Well, I was looking on the weather forecast for Dragon's Back race, and this is why they do autumn marathons. Apparently October is the calmest month, like Berlin Marathon and Amsterdam, but my memory of October is not calm.
Not in the UK, maybe. I don't think. There's probably a reason London's in April, not in October.
Yeah.
Well, I'm hoping that because we've had such a bad summer here, that maybe October is going to be dry and warm.
It's always lovely in the Alps. September and October are always really beautiful. So, I don't know. And what do you think long term, Jess? After this, have you still got unfinished business with the 100-miler?
Yeah, so I did Lakeland 100 last year. And I felt the best I've felt ever for anything, but my footwear choice just decimated my feet, and I struggled from Dalemain for about 60 miles. I wore La Sportiva Mutants, and they were just too high. They got a little sort of cuff round them, and I just found it rubbed the outside of both ankles, but not enough to give me blisters, but pressure on the outside. So I couldn't run uphill and I couldn't run downhill. And I found myself I was putting the Compedes, sticking them, so I was over High Cop, sitting down trying to put sort of blister plasters, trying to take the pressure off. And then I spent about 40 minutes at Mardale Head with the medics trying to get my feet all strapped up and sort of bound up for some pressure relief. Stopped at Kempmere and had Jen Scotney, bless her, sort of saved my race there, took all the strapping back off and sent me back out the door. So I think I'd like to go back and just have another go and see if I can go a bit faster.
Come on in, Jess. Come on in. I'm doing it.
You do. I saw you got a place. Guaranteed place next year.
Can you believe that? I didn't know that was a thing. Somebody mentioned it to me and I wasn't sure if it did filter down to the age groupers. But yeah, super, super lucky and super grateful for that. Yeah, come on. I think the 100 ballot, you're pretty much guaranteed to get in anyway. But then I think there is some bias for a female. So yeah, I think if you're a lady and you enter the 100, I think your name is on that start list.
So this year I actually volunteered at Lakeland 100 because I was desperate to get a place. So I've done my volunteering sprint, and I actually gave you your T-shirt at the finishers.
Did you really? Oh my goodness
chat. Yes.
Oh, was he really rude, Jess? And like,
I was
just
pretty.
admit.
I was not
Talking
in a good
trainers,
state.
I think.
I think I was crying again, Eddie. Probably. Oh wow, thanks, Jess. That's really awesome to hear that.
And what about after Lakeland? Are you thinking like, because I think you could run a really fast, like flattish 100-mile. Is that in your, like, would you like to do that? Because but you just said, I hated the marathon training. I didn't do it. I didn't even turn up.
No, so I love the flatter stuff. I mean, I love going up to the lakes and doing all of that, but I think my strengths are in that sort of flatter run. So like Autumn 100, my timing like that. Yeah. So it's just finding the time to actually put the proper training in, to give it an honest go. And I think now my daughter's, she's going off to do A-levels and she'll be driving soon, so I won't be mum taxi so much to go to all of her stuff. So it's a bit like I maybe in the next couple of years, before I get too old, I'll have another go at something.
But we talk about the age a little bit, but I actually, I was thinking that this morning. I was like, do I get, like, when you have on my Strava, it's like you've been running this route for 400 years and the same pace for like the last 10 years. I don't believe I have got slower really yet. Yeah. I think I've got stronger.
Yeah.
So, but maybe I have got. So I still think I can get better. Do you still think, like, even though we've been doing this for like years and years and years, do you still think that you can go faster, you can get better?
I do think I can get better, and I think I could get better with some coaching. I'm not just winging it off of, one fast run, one long run, and a little bit of a hill in the Chilterns. So I do think that it's just committing to it.
And I think maybe the facets of the other bit, like you say, you've nailed your nutrition, whereas like maybe 10 years ago, we didn't really have any sports nutrition, did we? We just I remember having the, maybe it was Gatorade or something in my first, because there wasn't like, I don't even think we had gels. Maybe we did have gels, but not really. They weren't so. Nailing the nutrition is like a mega bit of it, isn't it?
And just, knowing your strengths with your food and what suits you and what doesn't, what makes you kind of throw up and what doesn't. And I won't be doing any track stuff. I think I've found that I've attempted to track 24 hours, and both times it's really the only time I've ever been sick is just running around a track. I don't know whether I get dizzy. I don't know whether I get some sort of weird thing going on. The lines will make my eyes go funny after about 30 miles.
Oh my goodness.
And then I start to feel like I'm on a ship, and then I throw up. So,
and I also think with you, like the competitive element, that everyone's so close all around you. You'll be like raining, at least on the trail, you can't see them. Yeah. But if you could actually see
on the track, you're literally just racing everybody because you just don't know where
yeah.
That'd be fail. That would be fail. Who's on the start line? Actually, you mentioned it was the champs for the Lakes and the Days. Have you looked at the start?
Don't tell her that.
No. I tried not to.
Yeah, I was like, shall I have a look? And then I was like, no, we must tell her.
I know Rachel Normand is, because she messaged me actually this morning and said, "Oh, you're going to be in the lake soon. Do you want to do a recce next weekend?" And I'm like, I can't come back to the lakes again. They need me at home. So yeah, so only Rachel, but I don't want to look. I'll just say good morning and then
run your own race.
Run your own race.
Run your own race. Get there uninjured. Get a little block of training without an injury. Wow, what could you do if you could do that on just that little bit of training? You could have a really great day.
I think I've always done okay at the Lakeland stuff, and I think it's because there's never been any pressure. Nobody knows me. Nobody goes, "Oh, it's Jess." And so I just go out and just have a nice day. And I think I start slower and I get stronger and then I finish strong. Whereas when I go and people know me, and like Centurion put out a race preview and I go like that, "Oh, the pressure." Yeah. And then I go off at 100 miles an hour and then it all falls apart within halfway. So I've learnt to just go steady.
And there'll be sticky toffee pudding at the end, surely, in Cartmel.
Oh, yes.
So if people were going to do Grand Tour of Skidday, because would you say that, like, if perhaps you're not super experienced of running on fells in the Lake District, but lots of people are now like, oh, I want to try that. Yeah. Is it a good sort of like opening ultra for that? Even though it's not marked.
Yeah, it's a really good opening ultra. Super friendly, low key, lots of lovely running, and then some super climbs. that aren't too technical, a lovely view when you get them from the top of Skiddaw, and a nice descent and a nice run back. So it's a good day out. I would highly recommend it to all sorts as well, to the racers out there as well.
Nice bling too.
Yeah, lovely bling.
Yeah, I love the slate. Yeah.
The slate was very heavy.
Cool. Oh, it's been lovely to have a chat, Jess. But before you go, we're going to ask you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 questions. And these are the deep ones. The first question, actually, this opened up a can of worms last time we asked it. So I'm not trying to set you up on purpose, but is your dog allowed on the sofa?
Technically, no. But then he's quite an old boy and he gives me the big dog eyes, big puppy eyes, and I'm like, oh, go on then.
Go on then. Yeah.
Can he get up? Can he get up himself, or does he have to have a little?
He gets his front paws up, and then he kind of looks at me, and I'm like, oh, come on. But then I'll find him up there on his own, and I'll be like, how did you get out there?
It's amazing. It's amazing. I've got to say, I've got one older dog, and she's like, she won't get in the car. She's like, I need help to get in the car, Mum. And then I'm like, but you're on the sofa. Like, how does that work? Yep. Oh, that's fine, Mum. Don't worry about that.
You know what Rex did the other day? He was super naughty. A friend came over and we baked some banana bread, and he took a bite of her banana bread. No, years ago, George, we had some blueberry tart, and George left his, and he just looked around for 5 seconds, and he was like, "Oh, where's my blueberry tart gone?" Rex had eaten his blueberry tart.
Rex has got your sweet tooth, Gary.
Oh wow! Well, when I go to the care home to see my dad, he's like literally high as a kite on biscuits up there. All the old ladies are giving him biscuits. I've got to stop them from giving him chocolate too, because that's not good for dogs, is it?
Really bad. Yeah, really... just a rich tea for Rex. None of this chocolate, none of the posh stuff.
Okay, you can only use one of these social media platforms for a month. Would it be Facebook or Instagram?
Oh, definitely Instagram.
Yeah,
Instagram. Love the gram.
I love the gram. Love it too much. Must not scroll through and look at dog pictures.
Oh, well, this is a really tough question, Eddie.
I know.
If you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be? Oh, but could it be like food groups? You could have potatoes, so you could be chipped, mashed.
No, just one. I've got mine.
One food.
Yeah. You're not going to get scurvy because we're going to give you a multivitamin tab.
I'm going to have to say chocolate. I am going to have to say chocolate.
I think chocolate.
Yeah. Can you imagine though if that's all you could eat? Like it's just like chocolate. I wonder if you'd be like, oh no, or you'd be like, ooh.
Yeah, no, I'd never be like, oh no.
And what's your favourite chocolate? Yeah, I'm really curious.
Dairy milk, just
classic.
Simple, or fruit and nut. Yeah, lovely. That gets me through.
Dairy milk. What would your one food be, Gary? Would it be chocolate?
Chips and chips. I love bread, toast. I can eat toast.
Yeah, mine's toast. Toast. Happily. Well, I do eat it for a meal a day. It's just so quick. It's like, oh, I don't know, it's a piece of toast.
I start and end most days with toast. That's your go-to karaoke song. You have to do this at Lakeland.
The Killers. I can't remember the name of the song. You put the pressure on me now.
What do the Killers sing?
There's Mr. Brightside.
Mr. Brightside, yeah.
Hey.
Brightside. How does is that somebody told me you'd be
no. I don't know. I can't do it. What about you, Eddie? What's your song?
Black Velvet. Black Velvet and a little boy. I love it. I have the outfit sorted.
I'd have done Fall in Love with You, Elvis Presley, but I really like Ken at the moment. That's a proper earworm for me. If you won £1 million, what would you buy?
Oh, I don't know. Probably a holiday home in the Lake District.
Excellent. My gosh, imagine how good you'd be over that 10-foot drop. You'd be skipping down it. I love it.
I think that's probably what I do actually for £1 million.
That's probably all you could buy. You'd be able to buy a very small little house. You couldn't even be able to do anything because
I think Durrell-Keld, you can walk into Keswick. It's got a nice cycle path if you want to do your little speed work, and you're straight up Hallsfell, Doddick and Cloughhead too. It's all on your
Gary
doorstep.
hasn't thought about this at all.
No.
He's not been on right move.
Got right move, yeah.
Basically, when I go for a run with Robbo, that is all we speak about, where we'd move to in the lakes. Okay, every week we share the podcast over on Instagram, and you get the choice of the Instagram story music, and it can't be Mr. Brightside. What's it gonna be?
So I'm going to go. It was hard, really tough choice, but I'm going to go for the Libertines. Don't Look Back into the Sun.
Oh man, I love your music taste. This is awesome.
You and Gary, I don't know what that song is. It sounds cool.
I went to see the Libertines, and I'm blanking on the ex-lead singer's name now. Oh my goodness me! And it was when I nearly fell over then. And it's when the Libertines were chaotic and yeah. I think he didn't turn up.
Oh, Pete Doherty. Pete Doherty.
Yeah.
Is it Doherty or Doherty?
Doherty, yeah. Yeah, there was something that went on.
Sure, he can still belt out a great tune.
Yeah, I bet he can. Well, it's been a treat, Jess.
Oh, Jess, you've given us cheesecake with all the
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. We won't track you. We're not interested in how you do. We just want you to have a good time and get to the start line. But perhaps when you've done that, you come back on and tell us how it went.
Of course.
And who you met, who you ran with, and no other deets. We don't need finishing times.
Well, I'm going to add you to the open tracking list. Sorry.
Get there healthy. Get a little bit of training done, but do it as you do it. Do you? No,
thank you so much.
And well done for popping your podcast cherry. You were brill.
Yay! Yeah.
You'll get loads of requests now. Recover well, and we'll speak to you soon.
Cheers, guys.
Take care. Bye. I enjoyed that. Great to hear Jess's race. 44 miles, 7,000 feet. So many friends have done that race. Unfortunately for me, it's just a little bit too close to Lake 100 for the recovery. But
if you had a nice day out, I think you could treat it as a nice day out. Bryn got 7,000 feet in just under 10 miles the other day on our local.
Oh, yes.
He actually did upload his stats because I said you can't come home until you've got over 2,000 meters. Yeah. And he came down the hill as fast as Hilary Giraldi. So his downhill is going good because I know I've mentioned
fast.
Smoking fast. When I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, well, good. That's nice and easy for a D. No, 40%. It's literally the 40% that climb. 40%, and it's madness. It's madness, but it's great. So yeah, let's meet up and do the Skiddaw as a
well, I thought actually if you're I know Lakeland 50 is super hard to get into, so if you miss out on your Lakeland 50 ballot, maybe tour of Skiddaw is a little plan B for you if you fancy a good day out on the lakes. Oh, my favourite part of the show, Tales from the Trails. It's our time when we can turn the spotlight on our listeners. You know, an introduction. And
not all about you, Gary, basically. I'm amazed that this is your favourite part of the podcast.
Oh, God damn it.
Nancy, will you get off the podcast? Why are you coming with all your moaning?
Top of the charts this week, Sarah Perry. Sarah's consistently crushing it, you know, week in and week out. And she also took the top of the charts for most time on feet, 41 hours, 11 minutes and 24 seconds. But top of the elevation charts is Chris Maiden. Now, Chris had a successful Bob Graham round of the weekend, 27,812 feet. Well done, Chris. 23 hours, 28 minutes. So he did it with some time to spare. He wasn't sprinting up the high street in Keswick to the Moot Hall.
I remember that.
That is always my goal for Bob Graham round. We had our time goal, but ultimately I did not want to be looking at my watch importance scale. I wanted a nice jog in, and it looks like Chris had that run in too. Yeah, awesome. Well done, Chris. It was really great to see that. And he did put a little note. I'm not too sure I pinched this from. It might have been Strava or Facebook. I'm not 100% sure. But he said, you know, it takes family. I could not have wished for a better crew or a better day of weather. Thank you both from the bottom of my heart. Awesome.
Hi, Eddie and Gary. I discovered your podcast a few weeks ago and since then have binged on it. We seem to have a few bingers around here. Guys, control yourself. Once a week is plenty. Calm yourself. Now that I've caught up and have some time to fill, I thought I'd let you know how perfect the timing has been. I only started running in my 40s, having been a keen hill walker and mountaineer, mainly with the Scouts. Then some friends suggested in 2010 that we take part in the OM, as that would utilise our navigation skills. Oh my gosh, what a learning curve. There was so much that we did wrong, too many things to list, but let us just say that we're the only team in hiking boots. On the positive side of things, we didn't get lost once on our travels around Dartmoor. This kick-started my running as the OM start line photo showed a slight party barrel. I love that. Party barrel overhanging the leggings rather than a six-pack, which is what I had in mind. More OMs followed and we added lambs to the mix, low alpine mountain marathons, where the stunning Scottish landscape also made up for being bitten to death by the midges. In 2012, I also started doing triathlons and found out that not swimming since the age of 15 does make you resemble a brick in the pool. Worked up to iron distance and completed a couple of these. It was around this time in 2016 that while I was watching The Ginger Runner for reviews on running packs, that I heard him mention ultra distance running. Ultras, what were they? So being keen to keep pushing the body, I entered the Centurion Running Chiltern Wonderland 50 miler. With no real clue about training or nutrition, I managed to finish in what I thought was quite a reasonable 9 hours and 42 minutes and 10 seconds. I think we both did it that year, actually. I also took part in the Wendover Woods 50 in November. However, I had a bad fall just after the Chiltern Wonderland and my left leg was playing up, meaning that I had to occasionally stop and stretch it. But I finished Wendover in 11 hours, 59.56. The left leg was still misbehaving. So after having lots of physio while aiming for the Centurion Running Slammer 50 milers in 2017, all 4 races have to be completed in a calendar year to count. So I was going to have to repeat Wonderland and Wendover. Annoyingly, my left leg would painlessly spasm and lock up. But at that point, I was still in the mindset of, I'll run it up. And who hasn't been there? One physio thought it was a trapped nerve in my back. I completed the South Downs-Way 50 and the North Downs-Way 50, all the time getting slow because of my leg. During the Chiltern Wonderland, I was in a group of walking wounded. We had been persuaded to continue from the halfway aid station by the ever wonderful Centurion volunteers, and we'd worked out that we were hobbling fast enough to get round. Unfortunately, some course markers had been removed, and we didn't realise it until it was too late to get to the next checkpoint in time. My first DNF. And that course, that Chiltern Wonderland course, you can't, it's just they've just linked all these footpaths together. It's not a national way path, so you can't follow. There's no sign. So if the signs went and you didn't have the GPX, you would never know which way to go. Okay, gosh, the troubles continue. With the leg still not fixed, I didn't try Wendover, but the NHS were in full swing. So I'd see a physio, get a scan book for a couple of months later, then a baffled follow-up a few weeks after that, then see a consultant for another scan, and then another baffled result. So frustrating. 2018 was flying by with no idea as to why my leg was doing its own thing. Someone told me it looked like I had cerebral palsy. Little did I know. The scans showed my body was in fine working order. By this time, I'd wrangled specialist treatment at the Institute of Sport, Exercise and Health, a legacy from the Olympics in London, and they referred me to a neurologist who diagnosed my issue as exercise-induced dystonia. No, I haven't heard of it either. Apparently, it would mean training other pathways in my brain to do the work of the cells that weren't working, using brain plasticity. So I was learning how to run sideways and backwards. I did the Great South Run backwards that year with a wingman to warn me of any obstacles. At the end of 2018, I was visiting my GP because I was having trouble writing, sleeping, and my ever-present stomach problems were getting worse. The GP heard about my running issues as well and referred me to neurology, warning me that I might have Parkinson's disease. On the 10th of January 2019 at 9:30, the neurologist watched me walking and confirmed that I had Parkinson's just before my 50th birthday. At least I knew why my left leg was misbehaving. I also now had meds to counter the symptoms, and bless the neurologist, for he told me to experiment with the drugs to find the right dose. Luckily, by doubling the dose, I could jog again. Going fast or running uphill didn't work, as I would quickly become dopamine deficient and the leg would spasm again. It meant a brain reset. I would never be able to compete as before, but at least I could run, and confirmed it with the Hampshire Hobbit Half Marathon. Never had a finish line beer tasted so sweet. At this point, I wondered about doing an ultra to raise funds for Parkinson's research and found that my previous slam efforts had not been in vain, as they qualified me for the 2020 Thames Path 100. COVID impacted on the race, but in my favour, as it turned out. The race was delayed until September, which meant much more training time, and it was crew access throughout. My wife, who was due a hip replacement at the time, did a sterling job. Especially at about 5K, I tore my calf, and she had to find some painkilling gel for me. She unfailingly met me at every point, even even if she was hobbling to get there, as the camper van wouldn't fit in some car parks, so had to be parked miles away. The calf tear had seemed like a race-ending injury, but I thought this would be my only 100-miler, so hobbled on. I kept looking up the sky and grinning through the pain. Oh, brace yourself, everybody. My mum had died from cancer that summer, and I had her commentary in my head, laughing at the stupid things I get up to. I had to change the title of my Instagram blog to Fuck Parkinson's, as my mum didn't approve of the original wording. I read that very carefully. As the race went on, the pain was evening, and with the painkilling gel, it was manageable. My fueling strategy was simple: Tailwind and jelly babies. I love it. Yes, you can do a 100-miler on Tailwind. Parkinson's meds compete with protein for being absorbed, so when I run it, it is carbs only, which is really frustrating when faced with fantastic food on offer at Centurion aid stations. Oh, yes. I met my pacer at Henley just over 12 hours in, and we bimbled to Oxford in 25 hours and 24 minutes, and also raised 3,600 for Parkinson's research, which was a result. In 2021, after having said never again to a 100-miler, I completed the South Downs Way 100 in 27 hours and 5 minutes. It was a hot one, but not as warm as this year's epic. I'm in the middle of the 50-mile slam again, with just the Chiltern Wonderland to go, having made a bunch of new Centurion friends this year, but abandoning future hopes of 100-milers because of the training time required and the fact that Parkinson's is progressive. The meds are not as effective, and overdosing as I have in order to run means worse symptoms could appear sooner. I had to make the most of now, because I don't know if tomorrow I'll be frozen to the spot. Thanks to this disease, sorry for the language, I'll always volunteer for Centurion regardless of what happens. There's nothing like the night shift on an aid station. However, and this is where the podcast is a real bonus, Centurion have a new race this year, the Winter Downs 200. It has a cutoff of 96 hours, which suits my slow and steady progress. I have Parkinson's to thank for my secret weapon. One of the symptoms is disturbed sleep, so I'm used to functioning on less than 4 hours sleep a night, which means that I will lose less downtime than most. I grin every time I think about the 200. Your podcast with Eddie's spine story and Gary's forthcoming epic Dragon's Back has been a fantastic source of information and inspiration. I have no doubt about my speed and fully expect to be bringing up the rear, but hopefully not getting lost while jumping in every muddy puddle that I can find. Keep looking up, Anthony Rose.
That really got me there.
Me.
That is so inspiring. Tell you that, my goodness, mate.
Anthony, that was a podcast in itself. You should have read that story, Anthony, not me. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing it with us. Oh, I think get that Winter 200 done and then come and tell us all about it. I do hope you can find another fuel, though, than Jelly Babies and Tailwind for the 200, because you'll be like a kid at a soft play off that sugar. Let us know how it goes. Let us know how the training goes. I think you're going to have thousands of T and Charles podcast fans following you along that course.
I'll be thinking of you, Anthony, as I'm scrambling over Skiddaw. Yeah, massively. It's so inspiring. That. Thanks for sending that in. Oh, goodness me.
Oh, Gary.
That reminded me, Mama.
Oh, I thought it might do.
Oh, come on.
If you have a Tea and Trails story to share, do send it over to hello@teaandtrails.com. We love sharing your stories, your highs and lows, and no doubt that they sometimes have an impact on other people as well as us as readers.
You know, I said earlier about sometimes I think Rex needed the cuddle as much as I needed a cuddle.
Oh.
You know what else picks me up, Eddie?
Me?
That's not the thing I was going to say.
Oh, that's an awkward moment.
You had a couple of digs at me, did you?
Oh, but it's all, I only dig at the people that I truly love.
I know. It's like when you're at school, isn't it? You used to be mean to the people that you liked or the girls that you liked. You'd be
pull the pigtails.
But yeah, I love a 5-star review.
Makes our week. My fiance, I love a bit of romance as well. My fiance and I started listening to Tea and Trails relatively recently and got to binge Guys, you guys have no self-control. Got to binge on the first 30 episodes whilst I commuted to and from work, and she did her twice daily walk with our new baby. We managed to stay pretty in sync with the episodes. Gary and Eddie's knowledge, race banter, and guests quickly became the topic of conversation over the dinner table in the evenings, and we'd revisit and laugh about the episode we've listened to that day. Do you think they're laughing with us or at us, Gary? We've now had to listen to each episode weekly, so save it for when we have a long car journey and can listen together. Our baby Isla seems to enjoy the calming effect of Gary's soft, soothing voice and always nods off. Oh, baby Isla, you're the baby.
Is that a compliment? I'm not too sure.
I was going to push over it. I wasn't going to say anything. Keep up the good work, guys. You have two huge fans from the Cotswolds, Josh and Sarah for Apple Podcasts, and baby Isla.
Before I read another review, I looked over on YouTube at episode 30. The fisting gate, and our listeners are filthy. There's a graph on YouTube, and it basically tells you when people stop listening or stop watching, and the bits they actually watch over and over again. And there's an enormous, I was going to say something rude, but I won't say, there's an enormous spike around the 10-minute mark where people have just gone back and listened to it over again. That's so funny. I'm going to do 2 reviews, Eddie. I just
said, no, you're not allowed to, and you're going to do it. You are my 4th child.
Lottie Doc, amazing podcast, ! I love this podcast. Gary and Eddie have great chats, and all the guests are really interesting. Thanks for that. Second review, I cannot pronounce that Apple podcast name, but the best company for a long solo run. So happy that I discovered you guys. You are both clearly nuts, and I love sharing my headspace with you on my solo runs. This is a super genuine and inclusive podcast full of really interesting tips and inspiration for the longer trail runs. I highly recommend it. Thanks, everybody. Always super appreciate your 5-star reviews. It really is important. It helps us because I think Apple Podcasts and Spotify, it puts the podcast in front of like-minded people. Yeah, thanks for that. I think we might have read them out before.
I think you might have as well.
Okay, I'll bet your week is more interesting. Mine's full of stress. So yeah, before we get another taper stress, another 20,000 week, 30,000.
Another 20,000. Let's rack it up. I was hoping to go over to Chamonix to see some of the UTMB action, but it's the hardest week of the year for me, with a lot of work. Obviously, I've got a lot of clients running races this week, and kids going back to school. Girl can't just run around mountains. She's got to buy those compasses. Kids in France we also have to buy endless boxes of tissues. Every year I hand them in for the teachers. I was slightly nervous about what those are for.
You give them to the teachers?
Yeah, we give them to the teachers. We give them like lots of white paper, box of tissues, all sorts of strange things. We have these long lists. Remember when we first moved to France, it was just too, I was like, I have no idea what any of these are anyway. I'm an old hand now. Just going to Carrefour with a massive bag and put it all into a bag. So yeah, busy week getting everyone and everyone will relate to this with kids. I'm going to have to start getting them up a little bit earlier because we've had some lovely long. I can do the full 40 minutes on the treadmill, back, showered, breakfast, and the kids will just be waking up, which is lovely in the holidays, but it's going to be a bit emotional. So a few little early mornings. Yep, we've got a day free, Bryn and I, so we're going to able to get one last long run in before we start our taper. We haven't discussed who's going to do the night shift and who's going to do the morning. I think we all know how that one's going to. I can't decide whether I might do the night shift and get it done and then be the smug person when he has to get up at 5 a.m. I think that's what I'm going to do. So yeah, another week, another juggle. I don't really know what sort of shape I'm in because I've been doing so much hiking that when I actually have to run, I'm like, can I run? Yeah, I can run.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
But I feel strong. So I guess that I'm going to do a mountain race. It's all about the strength. It's actually not about the leg speed. Feel super strong. I feel like my downhill has got so much better. Feel super confident, and that's where you want to be if you're heading out into the darkness and the ravines with just a small pencil head torch and your husband.
That's good though. It's good to hear that you feel that you're improving and you're growing still. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. There's tons of room for growth on the downhill. Always. What about you?
Yeah, full on taper. This is this is like because of the packing situation with this whole moving your kit across Wales, and there's the weight issue too. So yeah, a lot of packing, unpacking, repacking. They do a really good thing actually. Nice little print off so you can check your kit bag and your camp bag. So they take a lot of the mental lifting away from you. I need to watch the race brief. So I'm fully immersed this week. I'm going to watch the race brief. I've downloaded all the GPX files, give them a quick look over, make sure they're on the watches, trying to get sleep, as much sleep as possible. One workout, I think I'll do my classic. It's not really going to serve me well over the mountains of Wales, but I do like my 5K marathon pace.
2019 marathon pace, is that, Gary? 5K at that, you might ruin your race. Oh,
goodness me, yeah. Pop my hamstrings. Some body weights, exercises, some mobility. Traveling down on Sunday with a friend, Chris Lyons from Sedgefield Harriers. He's involved with the media side of it all, so super handy. He's traveling down there anyway. Talk about. So yeah, going down with Chris, that would be nice, especially share the journey with somebody.
Yeah.
And my tactic is, I suppose I need to put it out there what my tactic is for the race.
Let's have some sandbagging. Here we go.
Well, no sandbagging. I've looked at, say, All County Tops, because that is a similar, I know every day is different, the Dragon's Back race. So, but All County Tops is about 10,000 feet, 35 miles. So ratio-wise, we're talking about a similar level of terrain per mile. So what I did for that was probably high zone 2 and then your zone 3, never zone 4, but on the climbs obviously heart rate goes up. So I'm just going to rein it in a few percent from All County Tops kind of effort. I think if I finished All County Tops in 9 hours, if I was to run it again, do it maybe 9.5, 10 hours at that kind of pace, hopefully that will serve me well over 6 days. That's the plan. I got a message. I've had loads of messages of support actually. Thanks. Lots of advice, little tips. Can of Coke in my drop bag from Zoe Murphy, little treats like that. Don't go out too fast. That's a common thing. Get your admin correct. Probably will have DOMs on day 2, but as long as they're not too bad, then we can keep on moving. Just super stoked, super looking forward to it. But I do need to say, and they haven't asked me to say this, Dragon's Back race, but I noticed that 50% of the entries are sold out. So if you'd like a slice of it in 2024, then yeah, don't hang about. We are done for another week. Do you think my voice is soothing, Eddie? Soothing tone?
Soothing, is that what I would use to describe your voice? Grating, repetitive.
Repetitive.
Soothing.
Yeah.
You have got.
I always thought I had drawn.
Droning. Yes, that's enough. We could throw that one in the mix. You've got lovely voice. I'm sure it's much less irritating than mine. It's really squeaky and a mixture of. Oh, no.
Hopefully you enjoyed the show. And if you did, please take a look at Patreon. Loads of great deals over there. It saves you a few quid. We could put some money in the meter too. And thanks to all our patrons and partners, new and old. Be kind to your future self. Don't forget to like, subscribe, pop over to Instagram, YouTube, give us a subscribe, follow over there and join. We've got a Facebook page and a Facebook group. We've got it covered everywhere. Tell your mates, tell your ruddy buddies, and in fact, just tell everybody. I'll be representing in the Dragon's Back camp. I don't think I'm going to race with my Tea and Trails t-shirt, but I think
too much pressure. Flexing
do you think
Tom
camps.
Evans says that at UTMB? I'm not going to race a Adidas kit. It's too much pressure for me. I'm just going to go old school. Back to the old school. Just wear it round camp, Gary. Just wear it. Wear the t-shirt for your chips and your tea.
T-shirt, hoodie, snood. That's it. Got it all covered.
Oh, nothing on the bottom. Crikey. You'll be banned from that catering tent before long.
But yeah, tell your buddies. In fact, tell everyone. I do get non-running people come up and tell me to listen to the podcast, which puzzles me, but it is awesome too. Thanks.
Puzzles me that anyone listens to this drivel. Oh, a massive good luck to you, Gary, to Trish, to Robin, to all the people that have to share a tent with you. Everyone who listens to the show, who's towing the line, who might be volunteering, who's missing a spouse or a friend or family member away competing, will be thinking of you all. Biggest advice I can give you: the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge. Martin Luther King. Ooh. It's going to be the hardest challenge of your life, no doubt about it, but I know you're going to do it, and you're going to do it in style, and we can't wait to hear everything about it. Guys, we're recording on the Monday. We've already booked it in. It's going to be raw. It's good. He's like, oh, Eddie, I'm like, you made me record after the spine on the Monday so you can be standing up there. We want tears. We want all the emotion. I'm going to be following that little dot every refreshing.
Yeah.
You got this.
Best of luck, everybody. Yeah, I need to say best of luck. No DNFs, please. I don't want any DNFs, not on our watch. And yeah, like Eddie said, I echo it. A massive thank you to the Dragon's Back team for giving me this opportunity. I really appreciate it. I'm going to grab it with both hands. And what my mantra is, take your shot. And that is what I'm going to do over those 6
Not
days.
over crib gawk. 4 points of contact.
No. I love that. I love the don't burn the candle, but I didn't want a mantra to have don't. So I try and I've got to reframe that.
Oh, gosh, you've gone deep into this, right?
And all the volunteers, 6 days of being out there in the trenches. It was very similar to people who volunteered for the spine race. It's a lot of time away from their friends and family too. So, yeah, big thank you. Super kudos.
Don't be too demanding, Gary. No diva moments, please, because there'll be photos, there'll be evidence of you going in that tent in just your snood and Everybody, especially Gary, stay safe on the trails, run wise, run wells, and don't overdo it. Listen to your body as well, of course, as your favourite podcast. Make sure you refuel with your favourite brew. My name is Eddie Sutton.
And I'm Gary Thwaites.
And that was episode 37 of Tea and Trails.